Good evening. We call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Bristol, Virginia City Council today, Tuesday, October 26th, 2021. Please join us for a moment of silence. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. We've got important items on our agenda this evening. We like to jump right in it. First item is council comments. Any comments from anyone?
I do have something I would like to just address briefly. I wanted to congratulate Wendy Brewer with the Bristol, Virginia Police Department. She recently got promoted to lieutenant, and it's my understanding she's the first female lieutenant with the Bristol, Virginia Police Force. So that's a big step for them. So congratulations to her, and I know she's eminently qualified and she'll do a great job.
Absolutely. Okay.
I just want to say it's exciting to see Texas Roadhouse up and running and doing very well. I went through there about 5 o'clock and I was really impressed with the traffic up there. I believe that's going to be a good anchor and a draw for more restaurants up there. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. The next item is city manager comments.
Yes, as if you've paid any attention to the news past couple of days, we did have a break-in at the landfill on early Sunday morning. I want to commend, I'm not going to give the employee's name out because he's a witness to a crime, but an employee this morning on his way to work noticed one of our stolen trucks being driven up Highway 11, called into dispatch, and they were able to arrest the individual who stole our vehicles and some other items at the landfill, and he has now been charged with several different crimes. So to the employee who did that, we appreciate it, and glad he was able to see him this morning.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is matters to be presented by members of the public comment, non-agenda items. So this is non-agenda items. The first person who signed up is Reverend Dr. Weddington. And as you're coming up, I'd just like to remind folks who maybe aren't familiar with the procedure here in City Council chambers. For public comment, everyone has 3 minutes, and we ask you to state your name and your address in the microphone for the record. And as you start speaking, the green light will come on. As your time is almost up, the yellow light will come on. And when the red light comes on, your time is finished. So we appreciate you coming. We ask you to be mindful of your time and each other's. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you for the opportunity to address council. I debated about what I wanted to speak about tonight, and I'm not going to get into the technicalities of the city's latest update on the landfill. Our team is going to be working on several responses and letters in the future. I'm here primarily to actually plead on behalf of residents of Bristol, Virginia that I know are suffering from the gases that are infiltrating their home, and there are some practical steps that you all could take to provide immediate relief to take the edge off so some of these residents can in fact get a night's sleep. One of those would be, I'm asking you to consider either through a partnership or even consider carrying some of the cost yourself for those who maybe need to be means tested and can't afford them. Air filtration in their homes would be very helpful. Our church, for example, First Pres in Tennessee, has been buying some units for residents in Virginia just to try to help so they can have it in a small child. So it's not about Virginia and Tennessee, but if you do have residents in Virginia, I would just, you do have them, and I would just recommend that you consider buying air filtration for them just to help them out as you work through what your process is. They need your help desperately. Second, I'm here to plead with you to make sure that you adopt a more robust emergency response plan. A part of that being providing for relocation for residents when they're really gassed out. I would offer First Pres, but we're regularly bombed out by the gas. So our location is not a place for people to relocate on a really bad night. I'm here to plead with you that you consider partnering with someone who's not directly in the path of the gas, to partner with them to maybe allow people to shelter there rather than having to shelter in place. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person who signed up is Mr. Foster.
Good evening, Mayor Farnham, honorable council members, and Mr. Eads. My name is Tyrone Foster, and I own my home at 2309 Osborne Street here in the city of Bristol. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. And I come to you as a tax-paying citizen, but more importantly, as a candidate for sheriff for the city of Bristol for the November 2nd ballot. I won't be long-winded, but the reason I am here is in support of the many people who are sitting behind me here in uniform, some are not, and that's the deputies of the Bristol, Virginia City Jail. I sent each of you a letter by email on October 11th detailing my concerns over the closure of the jail. I was not able to address them on October 12th because I was in training for my job at the police department. However, my daughter did address you, and she did a fairly good job sharing her heart as well as some of my concerns. But there are many questions that remain unanswered, and I want to address all of them, but I will address the ones that are very important to me, and that is personnel. I hear if we close the jail that the biggest concern is that the regional jail will interview positions, and that's good, except for the fact that it's just an interview and not a guaranteed job. Second of all, if I'm hired, I may have to drive 50 to 60 miles round trip or farther because I may not be guaranteed a job at Abingdon. It could be any regional jail of the authority. And if I'm currently a ranked deputy, such as a sergeant, lieutenant, or captain, I will not have that rank. That may not seem much to a normal person, but somebody who has worked that hard in law enforcement to gain those ranks and to gain that money and that type of benefits, it means a whole lot, especially if they are feeding their family or relying on feeding their family for that. I've also been told that the regional jail will not hire you if you're a Bristol, Tennessee resident. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what I'm being told. But that would be something to check on as well. As a school board member, I know that you guys are privy to information that the public is not. And I know that you have those access, and it's always knowledgeable of what you do, and you don't make any decision blindly. I know that. However, there are still questions that I addressed to you in my email that I've not heard answered or addressed. I know there are pros and cons that relate to this issue, so as I stated in my emails to you, please, respectfully, I'm respectfully asking you that wait until the next sheriff takes office, regardless of who he is, so he can be part of the process to help you all weigh those pros and cons. Please, again, take a look at my email and hear my heart and see what my concerns are, and hopefully give you a better insight on what some of these people back here are thinking. Thank you again for the time that you've given me to address you, and thank each and every one of you for all you do to make Bristol, Virginia a good place to live.
Thank you. The next person who signed up is Mr. Pollard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and ladies and gentlemen of the council. I recently saw a TV show that had a quote that I'd like to use. The only power that I have is that I believe we can do better. We can't demand that people step up if we don't meet them halfway. You control the local taxes, you can move streets and zones, you can knock down trees with an email, you can feed people with a phone call. But the question is, who's in the room with you when you make those decisions? Is it the people you're going to impact, or is it just more people like you? You've got to step up. Look, you people have power. The question you have to ask yourself is, how are you going to use it? I ask that you meet with people who are impacted by decisions before you make those decisions. Meet with subject matter experts who do not already have a business relationship with the city. Have meetings in public, and have multiple meetings that are well publicized and that are held during hours that working people can come without having to take time off work, even if that means having multiple meetings on the same topic. And listen for the facts behind the opinions, not so that you can counter or discount them, but so that all aspects can be truly incorporated into a comprehensive solution. A community is, after all, more than a place where people live near each other, but a place where people work together to make the community a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person who signed up was Miss Barrett. Did you want to speak now, or did you want to wait until later when we speak more about the landfill topic? Okay. The next item is the adoption of our agenda. What's the pleasure of the council?
To make a motion that we adopt the agenda with the following changes. Under a consent agenda for appointment to the Tri-Cities Airport Authority, there was no name attached, so I would request that we attach the name of the city manager, Randall Leeds, for that. And I would also make the motion that we approve with postponing item 4 indefinitely, so we remove it from tonight's agenda. And that's my motion.
Okay, that's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Hartley,
Yes.
Nave,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Wingard,
Yes.
Farnham.
Yes. Item 1 of the regular agenda, resolution to approve participation of the proposed settlement of opioid-related claims. No one signed up for public comment of this item. Staff report.
Council, before you is a resolution to approve participation in proposed settlement of opioid-related claims. These claims are related to McKesson, Cardinal Health, Amerisource, Bergen, Janssen, and the related corporate entities. At this point, they are seeking a settlement proposal that would pay up to $26 billion nationwide to resolve these opioid claims. This just gives their outside counsel the ability to begin those negotiations on behalf of the city.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
I move for approval of the resolution to participate in the opioid settlement claims.
Second.
Council discussion.
I do have one question for the city manager on this. So I know we had discussed, we've been involved in a different opioid settlement with a different pharmaceutical company already. And I think is that Purdue?
Yes.
As I recall, the terms of that opioid settlement requires that whatever comes to the city or to whatever locality be fed back into helping people with opioid addiction and things like that. Is that the same terms for this?
This is really just beginning the process of that negotiation, so the terms have not been agreed upon at this point.
Well, other than that, I will say I think that, as I said with the settlement with Purdue, I think it's very good that we be involved in this. I think that opioids have touched not only Bristol. It's systemic of any smaller town anywhere in the United States that you may go, and it's not just in the South. It's not just rural America. It's anywhere. So I think it's very beneficial that we be involved in this, and I think it's very good that these pharmaceutical companies be held accountable to the people who've been affected. So I think this is good.
Just to kind of piggyback on that and clarify, so in approving this, once they have the settlement, will we have to take other action to
Yes,
approve that?
we'll have to take additional action at some point. And, you know, everyone needs to remember, you know, these attorneys are representing not just us, but many other different localities, and it's going to be a settlement based on a negotiation on behalf of all the localities, not just specific to Bristol.
Well, I just want to say something. You know what? Everybody involved with the opioids and all the drugs that is addicted, and it is just plagued this country. Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable what the drug. It's unbelievable what the drug problems are throughout this nation. But everybody needs to take a little bit of responsibility in the health industry on these opioids. The manufacturers manufactured them, but it was the doctors that prescribed them. You know, I mean, doctors need to be more responsible too. But the manufacturers have got to do more research to know what kind of product they're putting out to the consumers. But I don't have a problem with, you know, the lawsuits here to compensate for the localities that has spent untold amount of money on arrest and housing people, and the you know, the life-saving crews and fire department going out, you know, on all these calls and everything. It's just unbelievable. But as a society, though, I mean, there's more people responsible behind this than just the manufacturers. And I just felt like I needed to say that. Everybody needs to share in the responsibility.
Just a procedural question, Mr. City Manager. We had the motion to approve the resolution. Do you want to have a reading of the resolution? A motion to approve the reading of the resolution?
Yes, we can do that.
It's read, and then a motion to approve it?
Yes.
Okay.
A resolution of the Bristol, Virginia City Council approving of the city's participation in the proposed settlement of opioid-related claims against McKesson, Cardinal Health, AmerisourceBergen, Janssen, and the related corporate entities, and directing the city attorney and/or the city's outside counsel to execute the documents necessary to effectuate the city's participation with the settlements. Whereas the opioid epidemic that has cost thousands of human lives across the country also impacts Bristol, Virginia by adversely impacting the delivery of emergency medical, law enforcement, criminal justice, mental health, and substance abuse services and other services by Bristol, Virginia's various departments and agencies. And whereas Bristol, Virginia has been required and will continue to be required to allocate substantial taxpayer dollars, resources, staff energy, and time to address the damage the opioid epidemic has caused and continues to cause the citizens of Bristol, Virginia. And whereas Bristol, Virginia has filed suit against McKesson, Cardinal Health, AmerisourceBergen, Janssen Pharmaceuticals, along with certain of their related corporate entities for their role in the distribution, manufacture, and sale of the pharmaceutical opioid products that have fueled the opioid epidemic that has harmed Bristol, Virginia. And whereas the city's suit seeks recovery of the public funds previously expended and to be expended in the future to abate the consequences and harms of the opioid epidemic, and whereas settlement proposals have been negotiated that will cause McKesson, Cardinal Health, AmerisourceBergen, and Janssen to pay up to $26 billion nationwide to resolve opioid-related claims against them, and whereas Bristol, Virginia's Outside Opioid Litigation Council has recommended that the cities participate in the settlements in order to recover its share of the funds that the settlement would provide. And whereas the city attorney has reviewed the available information about the proposed settlements and concurs with the recommendation of outside counsel, now therefore be it resolved that the Bristol, Virginia City Council the 26th day of October, 2021, approves of the city's participation in the proposed settlement of opioid-related claims against McKesson, Cardinal Health, AmerisourceBergen, Janssen, and the related corporate entities, and directs the city attorney and city's outside counsel to execute the documents necessary to effect the city's participation in the settlements, including the required release of claims against settling entities.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second for approval of the resolution. If there's no further discussion, clerk, please call the roll.
Hartley,
Yes.
Nave,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Wingard,
Yes.
Farnum.
Yes. The next item on our agenda, approval of 60-day extension of engineers inspection period of tax map numbers 190-1-1-12, 190-1-1-13, 190-1-1-14, and a portion of 190-A-4. Nobody signed up for public comment of this item. Staff report.
Council, this is in regards to property where the old Pepsi facility used to be on Lee Highway. It has previously been placed under contract for an unannounced business to be within the city limits of Bristol, and their engineering consultants needed an extension of 60 days in order to finish some final reports before they can move forward. And I would just ask the council to approve a 60-day extension and authorize me to assign an extension document once it's presented.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
I would move for approval of the 60-day extension on this.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Council discussion.
Will they need the entire 60 days?
I do not believe so, based on the conversations. I anticipate this probably be wrapped up in the next couple to 3 weeks.
Okay.
Just a quick note, I have no objection to this. I've seen before where a company or a business is looking to do their due diligence period, and sometimes they just ask for more time, and especially in a time like this, if they're lining up different inspections or engineers, if things are delayed, so I don't have any concern myself. If there's no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Hartley,
Yes.
Nave,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Wingard,
Yes.
Farnum.
Yes. The next item of the agenda, discussion regarding charter changes for election of council members. Staff report.
Council, as we all know and we've discussed previously, this past spring, the General Assembly has changed the law, which is going to require local elections to now be held in November moving forward. Our charter at this point does not allow for elections to be held in November. They are held in May, and we need to change our charter in order to conform with state law. And I have gone through the charter, anything in regards to the charter that deals with the elections and the organizational meeting. Anywhere where you now see council, anywhere where there was councilmen, we have now changed that wording to council members. The election under section 3.02 will now be held after the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November of every second year, beginning in the year 2022. And then each council's member's term will expire as of January 1 following the election. Let's see, we just changed that, changed the date January 1. Then on section 4.03, previously it said at 9 o'clock a.m. on July 1. Now that has been changed at 9 o'clock a.m. on the first business day following January 1, following a regular municipal election. The council shall hold its inaugural or organizational meeting at the usual place for holding the meetings of council. And then on the third paragraph, once again, we've changed that language to the first business day following January 1. We have changed another January 1 date in there as well. At this point, there is a comment that I've left there. I'll leave that up to council as to how we want to appoint members to authorities, committees, or commissions. If we want to continue with the July 1 to June 30th timeline for authorities and commissions, or if we want to change that to be a January 1 to December 31 date as well. I'll leave that for y'all's discussion. The next paragraph down, it says, council shall thereafter regularly meet at such times as may be prescribed by ordinance, provided that it shall not meet less than once a month. There have been occasions in July and in December where we only meet once a month. I know in July, we typically do not have a regular meeting that second Tuesday or the fourth Tuesday of the month. So I didn't know if we wanted to just change that wording to allow us a little bit more flexibility so that we would be required to have at least one meeting a month and then other meetings as we prescribe by ordinance, and we can probably look at the calendar every year to determine what days that we would not meet and just go ahead and put that in an ordinance and notice everyone all at the same time. Item 5.01, that's the appointment of the city manager. I just changed that meeting would be held at the inaugural organizational meeting of each year, whether that be on a Saturday or Sunday or legal holiday following the first business day following. And then that term would expire on December 31 of the same calendar year. That's all the changes in regards to that.
Well, I have a comment to make, and just so it's said on record, moving all the elections to November somewhat concerns me. If I'm not mistaken, in the city of Bristol, we have about 11,000 registered voters. This past November, I think we had a little over 7,000 people who actually showed up and voted, which was a presidential election. It was a large turnout. 6 months earlier, our city council election in May of 2020, we had less than 2,000 show up. So I understand the idea of, well, if it's all in November, there'll be a larger turnout, and that's a good thing. The only thing that concerns me is, sometimes with the national election going on, maybe some local issues could be sort of drowned out, sort of forgotten. We were campaigning for city council discussing items like the jail, the landfill, schools, the falls, our debt. The large national issues sometimes take precedence when you see commercials on TV and you get something in your mail every day about, immigration and healthcare and the economy and abortion, and some of those national issues we really have no control over here in these seats, in this room. So it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment, I think. And I was sad to see that it moved from May to November because of that reason about maybe the local issues not really being in the forefront of people's mind because of the national issues being so big. So, and one suggestion, I don't know about whether it's in November and an even year versus an odd year, if there's any pros and cons to that. I feel like the even years we're voting for, president and U.S. senators, and maybe the odd years we're voting for other local things like sheriff, commissioner of revenue. I don't know if there's any pros and cons to holding city council. Currently, we're even years. I don't know if Bristol, Tennessee is odd years, I believe, or even. I can't remember, but just something to discuss. So,
I'll add to that. When the General Assembly was considering this change to election dates, I testified before the House of Delegates Elections Committee against it, because I had the same concerns that local issues will become lost in the shuffle, and I think that's something we do have to think about, and it will affect us. But one of my main reasons for opposing it, and it's passed now, so it doesn't really matter. But we will have new members coming into City Council on January the 1st, and then getting thrown directly into the budgeting process. Within 30 days, we're crafting a $50-some million budget, depending on the year. And they haven't had that 6 months to learn how the city works, to learn how city government works. So, it is a concern to me, and I agree with you on that. I do have a question for the city manager when he's ready. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Actually, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
So, the boards and commissions, you were talking about moving them from July to June, moving them to January to December. Have you seen what other localities are doing as far as their board appointments?
I have not, but I can check on that.
I think that would be of interest. I think it would be I think it makes sense to move them, especially not just the citizen appointments, but the council appointments also. So you don't have, say we make this change and then, the mayor serves on one committee for 6 months and they change them out 6 months later, so. I think it makes sense to move all of the appointments to boards and commissions to January 1. Will you explain to us what will happen with the terms for mayor and vice mayor for this year? Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they would have to be extended, correct?
That's correct, because these laws, if this charter change passes, which I wouldn't anticipate that it wouldn't, based on the state law, you would no longer have an organizational meeting on July 1 of 2022. That would move to January 1 or the day after January 1 of 2023.
Explain to me again, did you say it'd be the first business day after January 1st, or would it be a Saturday? Or?
It'd be the first business day after January 1.
Okay.
I'm just curious, in order to not fall on those major national election days, is there an opportunity to shorten your term even, to make it from May to back it up to the November prior? Or would it be, that would be considered a whole year, I guess?
We discussed this with, you weren't appointed to council at that time, and at that time, the majority of council preferred to go to the even years. If memory serves me correctly, there may have been a deadline that we needed to have made that decision by, and we missed that deadline, if I'm not mistaken. But I can go back and double check that. And the reason we missed the deadline was because the majority of council said, we'll do even number years. And, but I can go back and double check.
In relation to that question, it might be beneficial to see what other localities, again, are trying to do in their, so we're kind of in line with other places.
We can do that.
I'll just say, piggyback on the comments of the mayor and the vice mayor. I know we've talked about this before potential charter changes. I think when it came up for the General Assembly, I was mayor, Mr. McGee asked me the article he wrote, and I expressed the same comments to Senator Pillion and Delegate O'Quinn about the reasons why I did not like this change, especially the General Assembly forcing it on localities. If you wanted to make the change, you could in your charter. Some localities had already done that. For example, Washington County had done that before. But to me, the even years, I'm fine with that, because really, it's every year's an election in Virginia, and a big election, and it gets into partisan issues, which I think that's one of the good things about having it in May, is it's a nonpartisan thing. And then the other concern is about the boards, and I would make those run coterminous with from January 1, because some of those boards are like BVU and other things. I'm fairly certain there's a couple I'm thinking of that people from Washington County serve on, and that's what they do. It starts January 1. We may want to look at, as the Vice Mayor pointed out, what you do with the citizen appointments. That's fine. You mentioned the comment about meeting and, no less than once a month, and would that be by ordinance, or would that be by resolution? Because if it's an ordinance, you'd have to advertise it and have first and second reading, correct?
That's correct. Let me pull up our current charter. maybe.
And as you're pulling that up, just to clarify, the next city council election, which would have been in May of '22, will now be in November of '22. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that's right. I can't get the charter pulled up for some reason. Here we go. So currently, what was that question again? I forgot what I was looking for.
You mentioned about where it says council shall meet regularly such times as prescribed by ordinance
Yes.
provide, and you were saying something about, waiting
So that's
and
under
and
section-
passing.
Yeah, so under
Does it
section-
have to be by ordinance? I mean, if we
Right.
change that, could we change it to resolution? Because if you do it by ordinance, you'd have to advertise it, have a first reading, a second reading, and then wait 30 days for it to take effect. So it'd be, a couple of months
So our
in the
current,
year.
our current charter says council shall thereafter regularly meet at such times as may be prescribed by ordinance, provided that it shall not meet less than once each month. Then in chapter 2, in chapter 2, under our ordinance section, under 261, it states, 261, paragraph B, types of meetings, regular meetings of the city council shall be held at 6 p.m. on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month at City Hall unless otherwise changed by the city council. So that's the ordinance that has been prescribed. It didn't set a specific date as to when that would be. So if we wanted to, we could just change the charter that says by resolution, council adopts certain meetings, these days as meetings, and we could do that on January 2nd or 3rd each year, whatever that first business day is after January 1, so that those dates are set moving forward.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking the way you were saying, we'd have to adopt a resolution after January 1, or an ordinance, but if,
You could do it by ordinance, because that's what our charter currently says is by ordinance, but the ordinance already says, our current ordinance already says the second and fourth Tuesday of each month.
wow.
So we could either keep it that way and know that we're not going to potentially meet that fourth Tuesday in December, or, the fourth Tuesday in July. That's completely up to council as to how we want to do that. I just throwing the idea out there that, there are options, and now would be the time to make those changes if we wanted to clean that up a little bit. Because I do know other localities, they put out a meeting schedule at the beginning of the year that says we're meeting on such and such a day, and that's what they do. Whether they do it by ordinance or resolution, I don't know, but there are localities that do that.
I don't think, it seems like it's as broad as it is long, basically, but I would be fine with just leaving it as it's written, and just, that way that affords us the opportunity if we need to meet for some reason the second, or if we need to meet the fourth Tuesday in December or the fourth Tuesday in July, it gives us that opportunity without having to do a called meeting. And correct me if I'm wrong, haven't I seen a posted schedule for our meetings with the dates released hanging up somewhere?
I know BVU does it, but I don't know. I've never posted one, but simply because it always says the second and fourth Tuesday of every month.
I mean, even if we keep it, just the way it is, I think it would be good to publish the date so that people can actually schedule it out without looking what the date, you have a specific number on a date. That just might be a beneficial thing to do for people. But I'm fine with leaving it the way it is.
The last thing I was going to say, just to clarify, Ms. Nave, what you were speaking of, so the seats that myself and Ms. Nave are in, those last elections were May of 2020. Those next elections would have been May of '24, but the way the law works now, it's basically extended 6 more months to November of '24, but you were mentioning instead of extending 6 months, if it was shortened 6 months, it'd be, instead of November '24, November of '23, essentially trying to line up, avoid the national stuff, but line up with other state and other local races. Was that what you were?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. I was just curious. And I also see, City Manager, in the 4.07 appointments and removals, down in the second paragraph, 4 lines from the bottom, changing that, it says councilmen to council members.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
I'll blame Joey since he's not here. Even though I did this on Saturday.
Is there any further questions or discussion?
What's your timeline for bringing back your official proposals on this?
We'll discuss this over the next week. I'll try to get you the data before next week so you all can have some time to look at it, but we probably need to have the latest have the first reading the second Tuesday in November, or the fourth Tuesday in November, and then the second reading at the first meeting in December.
Okay, thank you. The next item on our agenda is the old item 5, the new item 4, approval of the bid award for the landfill gas and dewatering system improvement project to SCS Field Services. The first item is public comment, and Ms. Barrett.
I just wanted to thank council for letting me speak today. My name is Ashley Barrett. I live at 196 Dewdrop Place, Bristol, Virginia. I am a Bristol, Virginia city resident. I have not always been a resident of Bristol, but I've been coming here all my life. It has been one constant place that has always felt like home. I'm a military brat who's moved around a lot, so I decided 10 years ago to make my roots in Bristol the place that's always been home to me, welcoming when I come visit. It breaks my heart, the streets and yards I played in, my 4-year-old daughter can't. She can barely go outside from the strong gas and decay smell. I love my little piece of heaven in my backyard. My family loves to be outside no matter the season, but that is no longer possible because when I walk outside, I get blasted and attacked with the smell of gas and decay. Until 3 months ago, I didn't know what was happening. Headaches every day, cough, tightness in my chest, my daughter having the same symptoms. To tell you the truth, I thought at some point we contracted COVID, even though we always tested negative. And this was the after effects of it. Until 3 months ago, the smell became so strong, I called the city thinking it was a gas main break. The secretary nonchalantly informed me that the smell was coming from the landfill. I investigated and found this wonderful group, Bristol City, Virginia, Tennessee Air Pollution Community page, which was very informative and worried about what was happening to our cities. We are being attacked in our own homes and at times being pushed out of them. The feeling of joy has left me when I enter Bristol. I feel dread and despair now. I understand that closure will take time, money, and manpower, but I beg you, let's make Bristol beautiful again. I am scared for my daughter. She is 4, coughing, headaches, and fatigued. She cannot play outside because of this. Let's save the generations after us. Let's save ourselves and our beautiful city. I know you did not all create this problem and it fell into your hands, but you can make the decision to save us all. If not for us, please look at the young children this is affecting. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next part is staff comment, staff report.
Mayor and members of council, this agenda item is for approval of the bid award for the landfill gas and dewatering system improvement project to SCS Field Services. This process began with the invitation for bids for the landfill gas and dewatering system improvement project. The invitation for bids was published on Virginia's electronic procurement site, EVA, on October 1st, 2021, and subsequently published on the city's website with a bid acceptance period ending on October 12th, 2021 at 2 p.m. Addendum number 1 and the associated revised bid form was released and posted to the city's website and EVA on October 7th, 2021. The bid acceptance period, was thereby extended to October 18th, 2021 at 2:00 p.m. 4 responses were received as follows: Advance One Development, LLC, American Environmental Group Limited, a Tetra Tech company, Baker's Construction and Excavation, and SCS Field Services. After evaluation, SCS Field Services was deemed to be responsive and the lowest bidder at $334,330. Staff recommends that council approve SCS Field Services for the landfill gas and dewatering system improvement project bid award as presented, being in the best financial interest of the city to select the lowest responsive bidder. Would always like to add thank you to Miss Victoria Warren, procurement specialist, for facilitating this process for the city of Bristol. Thank you.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
I make a motion for approval of the bid award for the landfill gas and dewatering system improvement project, SCS Field Services, since it's in the best interest of the city of Bristol, Virginia, and its citizens.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Council discussion?
I do have a question for the CFO. I know you said that SCS was the lowest responsive bidder. Are the other bids open to the public, the amounts? They
Yes,
are?
They are.
What were the other amounts?
Let me pull those up.
My question is, was this money allocated? Was it budgeted?
This is going to be budgeted as part of the, what was allocated to the gas well installation originally, plus we're going to have to transfer some money from another line item in the solid waste disposal fund to cover this, other improvements.
Okay, but it was not budgeted for in our budget. It was
Not originally, no,
yeah,
sir.
that's
No,
what I
sir, it
thought.
was not budgeted.
That's what I thought. What was it we set aside? Was it 600,000 or 800
I'm sorry.
for the new wells and then this hookup?
Originally, I believe 525,000.
Okay.
And the drilling of those wells did not cost that much. So we're going to have some savings there, and we are going to have to move some monies around to cover the expenditure.
Okay.
So the bids were SCS Field Services, $334,330. American Environmental Group, a Tetra Tech company, $380,170. Advance One Development, $379,500. And Baker's Construction and Excavation, $881,397.
Okay.
Well, I'd just like to add and just say again, anything that can be done, that should be done, needs to be done right away. And we talked a little bit about the timing. Anything that can be done, I know this bid is for them to install this over a period of time. Anything that can be done to shorten that period. I know, the SCS folks, if it's approved, they've got their own folks that are coming to do this, whether it's, more staff or overtime, whatever needs to be done, I'd say that can shorten that time. I'm open to anything. So I guess I urge the sense of urgency.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, is we approve this tonight, how quickly will it take for them to get on site and start the work? And I think I read they have, is it
They
50
have
or
40
60 days?
40
to-
days to have it substantially complete, 50 days to have it fully complete. We anticipate them being on site next week. Some of the equipment is in Florida right now that they will need, and it's on its way up here at the moment.
That was also going to be one of my questions, and I'm always of the mindset, just because it's the cheapest doesn't mean it's the best. I know there's several that are close, fairly close in pricing, but based on the proposals here, you all feel like overall this is also the best proposal that we received.
Part of the procurement process, when you put out an invitation to bids in compliance with the Virginia Procurement Act, is you do select the lowest responsive bidder.
Right.
And they were deemed to have met the bid qualifications, both in the bid form and the other evaluation criteria.
So once they begin the work, well, first let me ask you, the equipment that's in Florida, is that because of some type of supply chain, or are they working on another job down there, or what's going on?
They are working on another job.
Okay.
And they have several crews, but I mean, we're in line.
The specific thing they need.
Right.
Whatever it is. So, once they begin the work, did I see in some of our documents that this is planned to be running 6 days a week?
I've been advised that they will be running 6 days a week.
Okay.
Is there any other further council discussion?
Well, I'm gonna make one comment that the reason why I ask my questions is, I'm just gonna caution council. I just feel like something I need to do. This landfill is a disaster. We gotta do whatever we gotta do to straighten this out. All this money is not budgeted. It's all coming out of the unassigned fund balance, okay? And all the experts are telling us that these wells and the dewatering is gonna solve our issues. Okay, I believe they will. But we still need to err on the side of caution with our finances. The consent agenda is coming up next. Just between this landfill and the consent agenda, with this $87,000 that 3 of you agreed to for Discover Bristol, we are not in a position to start giving money away again. We have too many top priorities in this city that we have to deal with. And this landfill is one of them, this jail's one of them, the schools is one of them, the falls is still an issue. We have a lot of issues, and we still need to tread lightly with our finances. This $87,000 was not budgeted. And I'm going to caution this council going forward, until we get a good handle on the issues that we are facing in this city, we need to be very cautious about the money that we just give away that's unbudgeted for. If it's budgeted, that's one thing. But if it is not budgeted, we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And we don't have a bank full of money. We are in very good shape compared to where we once was, but we still are not in a position to be giving away that kind of money. And that's just my thoughts. I mean, the landfill, we have no choice. We own that pig, and we got to clean it up.
If there's no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Hartley,
Yes.
Neve,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Wingard,
Yes.
Farnum,
Yes. The next item is the consent agenda. What's the pleasure of the council?
I move for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Hartley,
Yes.
Nave,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Wingard,
No.
Farnum,
No. That's the last item of our agenda. If there's no further business, we stand adjourned.